previously, speakers had come up here and they had shown their driver's license to all of you. Today, I am going to do the same. This is my driver's license. But unlike them, I am not going to talk about how I got my driver's license, but I am going to share a story how this led me to discover something more about myself. A very good evening, fellow Toastmasters and fellow guests.
Good evening.
A few years ago, I went to the UK for a vacation, and I also visited my siblings, my brother and my sister there. I stayed there for about 3 months, and during that time my sister brought me around the country, visiting places around the UK. And then one day she decided, hey, you know what, let's go on a road trip to the countryside. A road trip? The longest road trip I've been on was going to Miri. Of course I got excited, I wanted to go. And I said, hey, okay, let's do this. And then we started making a plan. There would be 4 of us going, my sister, my brother, my cousin, and myself. We picked locations, we picked accommodations, the car rental, and the whole works. Everybody was excited. The plan was to a T, except for one thing. Nobody had a driver's license, except me. I had to be the driver. They depended on me. At that time, I froze. I came from being very excited to very nervous. My sister saw this and she said, it'll be okay, it's like driving in Brunei. You're driving on the left side of the road anyway. Yeah, like driving in Brunei, it was far different from driving in Brunei. But I did not want to show weakness in front of them, and I did not want to be the party pooper after all that extensive research and planning, and I did not want to put people's hope down. So eventually I reluctantly agreed. On the day of the trip, I had mixed feelings. On the one hand, I was happy and excited to go, but on the other, I was feeling dreadful. I kept on thinking, what could happen during this road trip? I was happy and then I was depressed. I was happy and then I was depressed again. I felt so afraid. I was full of doubt. Why did I ever agree to this? Why? I was full of doubt. But eventually we had to go. So we drove off. On that day, my senses were heightened. I became aware of every road signs there were. And I was very cautious. I kept on reassuring myself, this is like Brunei, you can do this. I'm sure the road signs in everywhere is standard, right? And then I was driving. There was this road sign coming towards me and says, don't drive on the hard shoulder. Okay, I won't drive on the hard shoulder. But what in the world is a hard shoulder? and then on the road there were these multiple chevrons. The only time I've seen chevrons on the road was in video games, and they were turbo boosters. I'm sure that's not what they're supposed to mean. Road signs was one thing. The roads on the country was another. The road went up and down, up and down, up and down, all the way through. And I mentioned I was driving a manual, and on top of that, I had to keep a constant speed of 75 kilometers per hour going up and down all the way through. People at the back were angry at me. They kept on honking at me, and they overtook me one after another and one after another. And then there was this one large Tasco truck. It also overtook me on the road going uphill. It was so embarrassing. Eventually, we arrived, safe and sound. Nobody got a single scratch, not even the car. That was when I first when I breathed out my first sigh of relief. And that was when I felt it. The air was so refreshing. It was a cool, clear, beautiful winter day. There were animals, there were horses, sheep, and llamas. The day was beautiful. The scenery was amazing. I thought to myself, you know what, this is worth it, even though I doubted myself. And then it struck me. I was actually not that afraid. In fact, I was not afraid for quite some time. The doubt and the fear eventually faded with time. Of course, there were a lot of mistakes along the way, but I had support. I had my family. I was not driving alone. And all the while, they never doubted me. When I made a mistake, they did not scold me. They encouraged me. Don't worry, it's okay. Try again. You'll get better. Then when I did something great, they say, good job, Rahmah. They praised me instead. It was me all along who doubted myself. But this doubt faded with fear. And I felt like the burden on my shoulders had been lifted. I felt like I can do anything. I felt liberated. I felt like there's this luminous light resonating around me. I share this story over and over with my friends because I'm very proud of it, because it was my moment and it was a story to brag about. But it also led me to discover something more about myself. At the beginning of the journey, I was very negative. I was full of doubt. And I underestimated myself. I underestimated my capability. To unleash this potential you have within you, all you have to do is just to will it and to do it. And maybe just then you will discover something that wasn't there before. And with that, I leave you all to Julius.